Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like we transition into this, and there's no real way to do
yeah.
it.
No,
But
there's not.
who who are the three players?
So Adari Halsey is a safety who was at New Mexico, one of the better defensive backs in the portal, um,
Okay,
who um, is he
220 pound safety, if I'm not mistaken.
um, I don't know if he's that big, but he's
Hmm.
good size. He's shorter and he's kind of tank shaped. So
Okay,
he but he had New Mexico's one of those teams that are pretty under the radar for most people, but he was good for him, and he was solid. And then he's probably the least known of the three guys. The other ones are John Saunders is a corner who was at Miami, Ohio. Heck of a player, and he'll be a contributor right away. He was an under recruited guy coming out of high school, ended up at the MAC. Is a really tall and lanky guy, probably 6'5", maybe buck 95, 200 pounds, but rangy guy. Um, Played on the outside for them a lot, and I think will be another guy who he matchups well, especially near the goal line with those taller receivers. So John Saunders again was his name, and then the best guy so far, who it looks like you guys are going to lock up, is Andre Carter, a edge guy who's at Western Michigan, Detroit kid originally, and was a fairly highly rated 4-star coming out of high school, went to Western, and it looks like it's between you guys and Iowa State who's going to get him now. But definitely looks like Ole Miss is in the lead so far. So three guys on the defensive side of the ball, can't complain about that. Um, the position where thought there might be some more movement so far is O-line, but not a lot of O-linemen have went in the portal compared to the other positions, and not many have committed yet. So it's still both tackle and interior where a lot of guys are feeling things out and seeing what's going to happen. So I think that's a position to look for you guys' O-line. And then at tight end is another one. The one I had heard potentially was that Traore from Arkansas State, who had a heck of a year. Nobody knows much about where he's going, but I did hear Ole Miss thrown in the mix, which makes sense.
Yeah, they're right down the
So
road.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Now Andre Carter, will he have any effect on was it Braden Fisk?
I I wouldn't think so, but with those moving pieces, you never know how some guys are going to react. Um, and with Carter, I believe I'm trying to, I think he will have 2 years left in the portal because the COVID year you got the free one. So I think he technically will have two if he wants, but um, it may be just the one. But with Fisk, I wouldn't think they would. That would hurt Fisk too much in his decision.
Yeah. So could be interesting with
Yeah,
all of that.
but it definitely has
Derek,
been a defensive heavy in the portal so far for what it looks like are going to be Ole Miss guys.
okay, Derek, do you have any questions so far about the portal?
Well, yeah, we supposed to have a big receiver on campus today. I was wondering if Mike had heard anything about that with Chris Marshall, the 5-star freshman from Texas A&M, supposed to be on there on campus this weekend, if or today. If you've heard anything about him so far.
So I have heard that he's leaning TCU and they're the favorites, but JoJo Earl, who was at at Alabama, it sounds like is probably going to commit to TCU soon. So I think if Earl commits there, then that helps you guys out a lot with Marshall. And it sounds like Marshall's down to TCU, you guys, and potentially LSU. So for your sake, I would hope Earl commits soon, and then that may get Marshall off of TCU into you guys.
I think Marshall and the kid from New Mexico went to the same high school.
They did. Yep, exactly. Yeah, Missouri City, Texas. So the other one who it sounds like.
Has anyone heard anything on the tight end from Maryland, CJ?
CJ Dupree. I know he has a Bama offer. He officially got a Bama offer on his visit, and he after that visited Ole Miss, but I have not heard anything since then.
So I will say I don't know if you guys, all of you know, but I'm a South Carolina guy, and it sounds like the Gamecocks are in on him pretty hard too, and that he's going to visit here as well. So after losing Bell, we'll see what happens there. But I know he's going to visit USC. The other guy, receiver wise, not as highly rated as Marshall, but Harris, Trey Harris, who was at Louisiana Tech. It sounds like there's a good shot you guys get him too, and he's a big body from out of South Louisiana.
And I would look for Joshua Cobbs also.
Yeah.
Ole Miss has a type for outside wide receivers. They're all going to be 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". They're going to be north of 200 pounds for the most part, and they're going to be able to block their ass off.
And that's Harris, too. So.
Also, by the way, I know you're the portals are, but with South Carolina hiring the tight ends coach from Arkansas to be the offensive coordinator and Greg Knox going into the transfer portal immediately.
Yeah.
I would think
it sounds like he's pretty much locked up to come here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. So, which obviously, we after losing Bell to Florida State and Stogner going back to Oklahoma, it is a position of need. So, the other guy I'm going to be curious about is Dominic Lovett, one of the top receivers in the portal. Was at Mizzou. I could see Ole Miss being in the mix for him. There's not many teams have been mentioned for him. He's keeping it pretty close to the vest so far. It wouldn't shock me if Ole Miss pops up on his radar.
Yeah, and it looks like Ole Miss at the slot receiver position. It looks like Jalen Robinson might be coming back, and everybody's like, duh. But
yeah,
that was a genuine thing people were concerned about 3 weeks ago. And then with Jordan Watkins being back, whoever comes in at slot better be prepared to work, because those guys are going to have a nice head up.
Yeah,
on the competition.
Hey, Steven, can I ask? Just because.
Go ahead.
All right, I got to ask because I just got to know. What are you hearing on Rara?
I'm hearing that Ole Miss is in a very good position, but I'm also hearing that Georgia has a ton of money, and if they decide they really want him, they're going to be able to pay more than we can.
And isn't that the reason he's leaving state? Is because of money?
Yeah, likely. Because most of these people that go to state and get in on basically a developmental contract with a low NIL, they went into the portal to try and get a raise because state wouldn't meet the demand that he had. If the number out there that I have heard is true, which I don't think it is, but I heard $500,000.
Oh wow!
But if that number is true, I don't know of many people that is going to pay that. But I'm assuming he's going to get a raise over what he was getting.
Yeah, my state buddy said that they had to let Rah go because they made the decision to give the pay raise to Tulu.
Okay.
Which if it was me, I would have gave it to Rah. Tulu's drops way too many critical passes, so I don't know about that. But hey, it wasn't my decision.
Yeah, and Rah does fit that, north of 6'2", north of 200-pound mold that Ole Miss is looking for at outside receivers.
Back on the offensive line in the portal, don't they have a couple of offensive linemen that were like 4 or 5 stars going into the portal?
Yeah, Tommy Brockermeyer was one of the top recruits a couple of years ago.
And George as well, right?
Yeah, and it looks like Brockermeyer's probably going to go to Texas. He hasn't committed yet, but exactly. Yeah, Dad played there, and is from that area. It sounds like he is going to be back there. And then Amari Knight was a redshirt sophomore junior at Bama. He'd been there a few years, and he's in the portal as well. Honestly, I don't know much about him at this point.
I think Damian George was was in the transfer portal as well from Alabama, right?
Yes, he
Yeah.
is. He is one of the largest humans you will ever see in person. I've been close to him.
Yeah,
And then can we expect Denver Harris to possibly visit, considering the connection to Evans?
That's an interesting
Or,
one.
or is there a lot trying to stay away because he seems like he has some little off the field issues?
Who did you say? Who was it?
Denver Harris.
Denver Harris.
Okay.
A
That's
lot of
cornerback from TAMU, right?
yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying Bama for him. So that's it kind of sounds like if Nick is willing to take him on, that's probably where he'll be. But I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that question yet.
I'd also look out for Prime on him.
Yeah, that's certainly a good call. Yeah.
I think Prime was on the watch list for Damon Demas as well, right?
Yes, he was.
I think so. Yeah.
The other one, I don't know where we had talked about Arkansas State before with Traore. One of their better defensive backs, Ken Harris, is also in the portal. I again haven't heard anything with him, but if Traore is going to go to Ole Miss, you may get that Harris as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think today's show or maybe yesterday's show I talked about Kenneth Harris.
Okay.
He was recent, yeah. He's like a 6'3", 6'2" corner or something like that. I think he's a big guy.
Yeah, yes, both him and then the other corner I talked about, Saunders, both tall guys. Yeah.
Hey, this question here is for Mike and Steve, real quick. If you could only have 3 people that are currently, on the watch list out of the portal, you're only getting 3. Who you taking?
Oh, that's. I mean, a lot of that's down to do you need a quarterback or not? Because personally, I probably think Grayson McCall is the best QB, but Leary and Armstrong are both solid players too.
I mean, factoring in, keep in mind, like as you question, filling our needs, right?
Yeah, let's see. Let me do that. I would CJ Dupree, because I think even if Michael Trigg is back in good graces, they would provide different looks at tight end. I think he would be very much a plus.
Yeah.
Casey Kelly.
I would say Dalton Cooper. He's a tackle at Texas State who's a stud. He would be a good pickup for anybody.
Yeah, I like was it either Braden or Brent? I can't forget his first name. Fisk from Western Michigan.
Yeah.
Because I think Ole Miss has a little bit of a physics problem in their defense, and
I had no idea.
Increasing the size of their end position and their box safeties would be important. That's the reason I asked if that safety was 220 pounds.
Yeah.
Because that would help fix that physics problem by doing that. You put him on one side, Centurion on the other, and all of a sudden you're essentially running a 3-4 with a 3-2-6. Same principles that we were doing, but it's a true 3-4 at that point.
Yeah.
Steven, I've got a question for you and Mike. I read today where we've got a defensive lineman from North Carolina State visiting this weekend, and he looks to be a pretty good player.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I forget the name, but I know who you're talking about. He's a 350-pound nose guard. He's a space eater. And if you look at him and Xavion Harris, you can see what they're going to do in the middle. I think J.J. Pegues is going to move outside. And that is how we're going to work to address that physics issue. But, yes, he's a really good player. He is a plus KD Hill.
Yeah, and he was actually ranked pretty high coming out of high school too. I want to say he was a low 300 national recruit, 330, 320, something like that. And not to mention he's been productive and got pretty good film too, so he'd be a great pickup.
Yep.
Are we addressing the needs at center? I haven't heard anything about that.
I haven't heard a dang thing at this point, Rick.
There's relatively few centers in the portal. No, none of value at this point. Nugent from Stanford's probably the only one who would be SEC caliber, and nobody really knows what he's not that big either, so he's probably only 275 or 280, which could hurt him.
And now, not that this answers your question, but keep this in your back pocket as well. Bryson Sanders is supposed to play center at Ole Miss. I think that's the position carved for him, and I was reading in one of the interviews with him.
Okay.
I didn't
know
that.
With John Garrison taking the job, the offensive line coach, the main difference that you have with offensive line coaches is where they view players to play. So he might walk in and say, okay, Jalen's pretty good at left tackle, but Michael Pettis, he should probably play left guard. And they start putting together the puzzle completely different, and everybody's going to be like, well, we already had that taken care of. Why are you doing that? But that is the difference in O-line coaches and what they view and what they're trying to accomplish. We might have next year's center already on the roster, and it's not Bryson Sanders. I mean, Caleb Williams might play right guard, and another center is in that position, but he was playing somewhere else this season. So O-line coaches are a weird deal, but we definitely need to solve the center problem.
Didn't you guys just bring in a new O-line coach?
Yeah, John Garrison from NC State.
That's right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which he's apparently I got 2 or 3 congratulations from Nebraska fans on the video I did announcing that.
Okay.
Because they love the guy. They actually wanted Nebraska to bring him under Matt Rule back, but Nebraska kept Raiola.
That's right.
What a hire by Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah.
That's a great fit up there.
Yeah, as long as they're patient, which I don't know if they will be.
Yeah, that's been the biggest problem with them in Texas in recent years, is they just haven't been patient. Now, they might have been too patient with Frost, but before that.
Yeah, that's just because his favorite son.
Rules of program.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Rule's going to get 3 stars and just develop them over 3 years. By their 3rd year, they're going to be just hell in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of just getting there.
Well, he's got an 8-year contract, so.
Yeah.
Hey, I asked earlier just to kind of get you guys' opinion, but my phone was having some technical difficulties. Did CJ Dupree ever show up? And if he did, what was the thought? What was the thought on his visit?
I think he might be there now. He went to Alabama first over the weekend and then went to Ole Miss, so it might have just ended. I haven't seen anything online of him talking about it one way or the other. Whoever is, following that really closely,
how to
if
get
there's
to
something
love
I've
it?
missed, let me know. But I haven't seen anything at this point. All we know
take
is
61 up to
he was
23.
supposed to show up, and I think
Hey,
according
Dylan
to most
East,
people,
right?
he did, but they
You're the coach of
either
Dylan
not
East.
following him up, either CJ
You've
is not
lost your
answering
inner pirate.
text.
Something
like
sword.
that.
Have you ever heard swing your sword?
But
You're supposed to swing your sword
honestly,
like this. You're swinging
if it
yours
went
like
well,
this.
Really good.
You've got to find your inner pirate. A lot of times things just
Yeah,
happen
that's
for a reason.
kind of what I was thinking.
We don't know why
So
God
hopefully it's
wants
still
it
just
that
going
way,
on.
but you can't make the best out of it until you get back your inner pirate. You might be the luckiest man alive and not even know
But
it.
they could decide that the tight end position, they want the Michael True type guy and go after that Charles Orr, and they have hiring fees, and they could decide, that's the path they want to go down.
Have you guys watched any of the? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the question I think people need to ask is, how does Lane Kiffin want the offense to look next year? Because they do
Yeah,
different things,
yeah,
and depending on what they want to do is probably depending on what the tight end is going to be built.
right. So I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier, and just kind of ties into what you're just talking about there about the Jaheim Bell kid. And I watched some of the film last night. I say some of for about an hour. I watched Devontae Connor's film, and they use him in the same similar way as like an H back, giving him some handoffs out of the backfield and all, just any way to get him the ball. So I think he's going to need some time to get there, but I think he can be a player in time too.
Yeah, Ole Miss really benefited from him moving from Alabama up into North Carolina his senior year, and he just kind of fell between the cracks. Because if you look at him, he's either a non-ranked or low-ranked 3-star, and you watch the film, and that's not what's on there.
No,
that's not what you see.
no.
And so the evaluation process, they did a pretty good job on him.
Well, if we're going to give them kudos for that evaluation, let's talk about their evaluation of Perkins.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could have evaluated Perkins. But honestly, like I said, I've got a video tomorrow night where we talked about where he ranks from Mississippi high school players in recruiting all time. And it was like Tony Connor, Jeffrey Simmons, and Marcus Dupree. Those were the three names that were basically set above him. And actually, we just said he deserves to be spoken the same breath as them.
Oh yeah,
No doubt.
Yeah, this kid's just absolutely special, and he's the type player that Alabama and Georgia have been making a living off of for 10 years.
You can
I
see
hope he
too that
signs early and doesn't wait till January.
I think he will, since he's went ahead and shut it down. I think he'll sign on the 21st.
I seen he got a bump today on 247, pretty hefty bump.
Yeah, he's like in the top 30 in the country, just right outside 5-star territory, which means if he has a good day at the Under Armour game, he'll be a 5-star.
Yeah.
I don't care what they give him. He's a damn 10-star.
Yeah, he's amazing. You
Yeah,
don't have the state championship game he had, and just be a guy. There's not just a jag doing that, rushing for 300 yards and game with ceiling interception and never coming off the field. I mean that's special stuff. That's like JJ Pegues with Oxford down there in Southern in the state championship game like 3 years ago.
I've got a question about the portal. Back to the portal. Should we be concerned that nobody has signed yet? And when you hear about other schools, getting commitments, Florida State, Auburn, Texas, etc., should we be concerned?
No.
No.
Last year, the first signing that Ole Miss had was early signing day.
Okay.
And that and the visits are just now starting too, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, if you know last year in the portal, we didn't go after the big splash guys. We went after good solid guys. I mean, yeah, we got a really good running back out of the portal who, by the way, is he still 50-50 on staying?
It seems like he would declare, but I mean, I don't know what's going on. He's not opting out.
I thought for sure he was going to opt out and go to the draft, but like you said, I thought he would have done it by now if he was going to. So
yeah,
I did hear
announced today.
I also
he's
heard
not opt out.
I heard he signed like a bigger like extension or deal with the Grove. You guys probably know more about what that is than me. Some collective, but
yeah, the Grove Collective.
Yeah, it sounds like he's got a pretty good bump from them. So that's probably a good sign.
Yeah, and honestly, now Ole Miss, they have a decent sized little war chest when it comes to NIL. But if Ole Miss is going through and getting Zach Evans to stay, that Zach Evans is better than any running back that's in the portal. So stuff like that could be taking priority in this early stage while they're just patiently looking for players to fit certain needs. Like they've got 4 visits on campus, I think right now. And this weekend they've got 4 more.
Yeah, and I'll go further on that too, Stephen. I don't know if Mike would agree, but DeAndre Prince, in my opinion, is better than any cornerback we're on in the portal as well.
He's definitely up there either way.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. He's there's a couple good corners in there, but he would be right up there. That's for sure.
Yeah, the one thing everybody needs to remember when it comes to Lane Kiffin, and he has said this over and over again, and eventually people are going to believe him. He said he's not going to reach on a player. So if they haven't signed anybody and everything, is because they're not going to rush in. So yeah. He's going to be pretty methodical about what's going on. But I have a feeling once it happens, it's going to be a flurry.
I don't know if this has been
obviously Auburn. They're pretty desperate right now, so they're reaching.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Auburn's pretty desperate. They're reaching.
Oh yeah.
Auburn just offered the McCall kid from East Carolina.
Yeah, it sounds like he's gonna visit there in a couple days, which would be for them and him. It would be a good landing spot.
I think so too. He's very interesting prospect to me.
Yeah. Auburn also is probably going to get one of the best tight ends that's in the portal too at Fairweather that was at Florida International. Solid player.
Yeah. Rivaldo.
Yep, exactly.
To me, the Coastal Carolina quarterback would be a good fit for you.
Yeah, the interesting thing about Auburn is Philip Montgomery going there and being the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You would think he did not show up there just to hold a clipboard and look through binoculars at formations.
Yeah.
So that means another team in the SEC is going to be running the Baylor system.
Yeah.
So
South Carolina is going to go to this Baylor system. Like once Oklahoma comes in, a third of the league is going to be running that offense.
That's a good point, yeah.
So have y'all heard much on sorry if you already mentioned this, but with Thornton Jr., like I know he has talked about Auburn, but I don't know if that's really materialized.
He's one of those guys I've not heard much on him. No.
Yeah, he's been kind of quiet, but the only thing I've really seen him say much on is Auburn, so I didn't know if they were pushing there.
Auburn is, I would say you might hear him a lot because Auburn and Colorado are kind of the two teams now that it seems like they're offering everybody who's decent. So you're going to hear them out there just because they're throwing offers out left and right.
Shotgun method.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how you got to do it when you land at a new place.
Probably.
Late,
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, so I don't know. I mean, I imagine most of the people in this chat are probably members of some sort of message board, or not. But I did just see one of the message boards where they kind of thought that Ole Miss was the leader at this point for Chris Marshall. So that's pretty cool.
That would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think both of those kids from high school, I imagine, I don't want to say package deal, but that could very well be a package deal.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, don't it?
Yeah. And that kid, like I said, he's listed as he's a heavier guy. He is basically made to be a box safety. He's like plus size Tysheen Johnson. Probably closer to Jacob Springer size. And from what I understand, he plays and his physical is Ladarius Tennyson.
Yeah, and Tennyson's a little firecracker in a small body.
Yeah, he's the guy that whenever he plays, I just worry about what his life after football is going to be about age 35.
For sure. His nickname may be CTE, huh?
Yeah, good grief.
Hey, I know this has been brought up a pretty good bit too, but just to throw it out there, what about the Daiwan black kid? You know, I got on here late. You guys might have discussed it already, but he somehow has 3 years of eligibility remaining, and he really fits that Jacob Springer role of just being or the Kari Clark, somewhere in the box, but that can cover as well. You know.
Yeah, he was Suntoring Perkins before Suntoring Perkins.
Yeah, that's true. He's a great value version of Suntoring Perkins.
Uh-huh. And if you could do him as a depth piece and bring him in, all of a sudden do both of it, you could have something. Now, my only question is, as athletic as he was, is the reason he wasn't playing in Florida because he was not quite a linebacker, not quite a safety, and he was kind of in between, or was there something else? That's the question I would have to ask.
Right, and if it's the first thing that you mentioned, then he has the perfect defensive role at the Ole Miss scheme
Right.
that we've done. While it's hard to fit in almost every other defense, it's perfect for what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the eval thing. Let's see.
Steve, I got a question for you. Have you done a numbers thing with the between graduation and those entering the portal? How many spots we might have?
No, I'm gonna be completely honest about this. I have no idea how many scholarships we have at the moment because with the COVID year, honestly, Miles Battle declared for the transfer portal. I thought he was out of eligibility. And I'm sitting here just like trying to think, counting on my fingers and do whatever I can. I don't have that number in front of me. I probably need to sit down and do it, and I probably will after signing day.
Man, I don't know if it's 30 or 40 or 25 or, I don't know. So.
Yeah. I think we're at 20 people in the transfer portal. I think 3 people have declared for the NFL draft, so that's 23. And I don't know what the number was where we were before. Do we have 2 or 3 scholars,
Well,
that were available?
graduation, there was at least, I don't know, I was there, 12 to 15 that walked. I can't remember. So
Okay, so we're looking. Let's say 35 just to be safe. 35. I figure 12 to 15 high school kids, which leaves 20 people for the transfer portal, which they'll probably sign 10 to 12 this first period, and then after spring practice they'll try and hit on like 2 or 3 best available in that window. And they'll probably each year just give out scholarships to needy people that need it, Matt Jones types.
well, I hope they gave one to Wade. He sure deserved one.
I think he's going to get one, absolutely. But, Dayton Wade, Jordan Watkins, if Jalen Robinson can stay healthy, he's a slot receiver. He's a honest to goodness phone booth receiver. He just, for whatever reason, didn't fit.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a big addition coming in, and it just didn't work out for him this year.
Yeah, he hurt his hamstring early on and just couldn't get right.
Okay.
But even before he hurt his hamstring, does everybody remember the first punt return in the first game this year? Where he either fair caught or caught the ball on the goal line? He had a pretty much a shocker against Troy that first game.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Troy, that looks like our best win of the year.
Either Troy or Vanderbilt.
Hopefully, Texas Tech's going to be the best win.
Exactly. By the way, Texas Tech is just like I said last week. They're the type team with Joey McGuire that if you play sloppy, they will beat you. If the Ole Miss plays well, Ole Miss should win the game because Ole Miss has better players. But if you play sloppy, Texas Tech will beat you.
I think Ole Miss is going to be motivated. They don't want a 4-game losing streak. So,
yeah, that's a nice little segue. Tomorrow morning's video is titled Momentum Bowl because we're talking about just that, how Ole Miss needs this game, perhaps more than any bowl game since the 2015 Sugar Bowl.
I also think with no opt-outs, it's pretty dedicated there to wanting to do well in the bowl game because it seems like they care.
Yeah.
And I hope they open it up a little bit and let Jackson, for lack of a better word, I hate this phrase, cook. Because, Jackson against State, 30 for 38 in a monsoon, didn't even really put the ball in jeopardy that.
Well, it was only a monsoon in the second half. It was pretty dry the first half.
Yeah. But that should be interesting. Let's see. Talking recruiting. Let's see. I'll give you guys a sneak peek.
We wanted to just see how honest Texas was.
John Garcia is going to be on the show tomorrow morning. He said that Ole Miss was probably the leader.
The challenge for Leach in the decoy script was to come up with
but Georgia's
complementary
making
plays
a
to the
push
actual
on him.
one. So if you were running a play
And
to the
Keith
left, you wanted the decoy script to say something was going to the right.
The next
but Oklahoma State and Penn State trying to make a push on him. In my opinion, on high school recruits, if nobody is recruiting your commits, that's a red flag.
Texas would be sure to find it.
You want teams to be throwing Hail Marys for your guys.
Run past their sideline, and as you're running up the tunnel, I want you to take the script and act like you're putting it in your belt loop.
But
let it fall out onto the ground. It was kind of the first real,
Speaking of keeping them, did anybody hear anything on Marcel Reed?
One of their GAs.
Marcel Reed, I don't think it's going anywhere.
Oh, what's this? A piece of paper. He looks at it, his eyes get kind of big, and he sort of hides it and looks around to see if anybody saw him get it.
Whenever Auburn people just released information about absolutely everything as we saw,
straight to the Texas
with no offer in that situation get out means that
we all thought
there
it was
wasn't
real
much
because we
traction
thought that
made.
the alternative
And he's going to go to Texas A&M and
so
kind of leave
far-fetched
over there.
That
So do you want 1 year behind Jackson Dart, or
create
do
a
you want
fake
2
call
years
sheet
behind
and actually leave it and drop it?
So I think we're in pretty good shape with Marcel.
Paul Reese takes it up to the press
Bryson
box.
Sanders
He starts
is
studying
pretty
the script,
confident
trying to figure out what defense they're going to call to match up the script.
When I wasn't calling defenses, I was looking at it.
Texas
And
Bowl
it was
appreciator.
a huge distraction.
And on the second play of the game, the script says
All right, go ahead, man.
double reverse pass.
We were trying to get them over there to the left.
Oh yeah.
We had Savage and everybody
I don't know
was
if you
over
guys
to
have
the
already
left and
talked about this
Savage was
yet,
to the right.
but I was completely shocked by Braylon Brown heading into the transfer portal. What do y'all think about that?
Honestly, I'm not shocked. Because him just not getting on the field this year.
It was a catastrophe.
I mean, I understand that
17-0
Keith and Jonathan Mingo were the
wanted to
dudes,
just see
but
how
even
honest-
whenever one of them went down, Dayton Wade went in. So Braylon Brown got jumped by a walk-on.
He's a 4-star receiver though, so like is that a development thing, or is that is that just he wasn't rated?
Well,
right?
I think you also got to remember last year he was coming off that injury, right? He had that big spring for us, and it looked like he was going to contribute, and then he had that injury that ended up putting him out for the year. And kind of like Steven said, even this year we were searching high and low for a receiver to get on the field with the injuries that we had, and Dayton Wade comes in and kind of fills that spot for us ahead of him. So that was just kind of the writing on the wall for him. He's obviously an incredibly talented guy, but maybe that injury got the best of him last year and he wasn't able to recover for it. I don't know. I'm not there. I can't see practices and all that, but that was telling enough because we were searching high and low for anybody to play receiver for us, and he never touched the field.
That's so unfortunate. That's so unfortunate because I feel like there was talent there for sure.
I would look for him to end up someplace like FAU with Tom Herman, because he's from somewhere like Shamadad, Madonna, somewhere in South Florida.
Yeah, he'd do really well down there too. That's again, it's a whole different animal playing it in the SEC, right? Especially coming off of an injury, and just kind of writing on the wall this year. As much as we were hunting for him, he still never got on the field. Hate it for him, but kind of with Steven, wasn't surprised to see it.
And Braylon was my pick to click this year before the season started. I actually wasted a whole video talking about why I think Braylon Brown was going to step out this year. And he's like, well, that just didn't work.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah. So, well, anybody have any other questions real quick before we get out of here? All right. I do want to thank everybody for listening tonight. Obviously, if you missed anything, the replay is going to go up on the YouTube page on, I'm assuming Thursday night, something like that. So we'll put the replay up there. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Kara, Derek, Mike, and Tom. And next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central, we're going to do it all again. And that'll be the night before signing day. So I imagine that place will be packed. So I'll see you then. Thank you guys very much. And we'll talk to you later. Hotty toddy.
Hotty toddy. Thanks, guys.